Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with Black Readers Con Presents. We're back. Um, we are here to remind you of the Black Readers Conference that is in October of this year in New York and virtually. Um, it's a conference that's for the readers, and we're just talking to different people who are readers and who have books. To remind you guys what that our conference is coming up, and as soon as we have the registration link up, we want everybody to go and get it. You can follow us on all social media Black Readers Con. Today we have Jeremy Pelt here. We are celebrating Black Music Month. So, what better way to celebrate Black Music Month than with a musician? And we are lucky to have award-winning trumpeter Jeremy Pelt. Congratulations on your new album. Was number one 2 weeks in a row, was it?
2 weeks in a row, and now it's dropped to number two, which is still a feat.
Awesome. So tell us about you, Jeremy.
I mean, that's such
Who are you?
Well, I mean, everything you said sounded about right. I've been out here playing the trumpet, particularly professionally for the past in New York for the past almost 25 years, and toured the world as a sideman and also as a leader. I've got over 15 recordings as a leader out, probably closer to 17. I sometimes I have to count these things over again. And just recently, I've started to add the role of producer to my credits and producing a number of other artist CDs. And very recently, I've also added the author to my CV, as it were, with these books that I'm putting out. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry. We have your book Griot right here. It came out last year, right? And
yes.
This is volume 1 and volume 2 also. We have.
Yes.
And it says examining the lives of jazz's great storytellers.
Yes. So, in explaining that, there was a book that was it still is very important to me, that came out in the 70s, written by a great legendary drummer named Arthur Taylor, and he called it Notes and Tones. And in that book, it was essentially a collection of interviews that he did with his peers, and his peers were people like Miles Davis and Sonny Rollins and Dexter Gordon and Betty Carter and people like that. And the book was really, I mean, the interviews really tended to focus on the Black social issues of that time. And when I say that time, I mean, a lot of these interviews took place in the mid 60s into the 70s. And so I remember reading that when I was probably about 16 to 17 years old, and it had an impact on me then. And then I went into college at Berklee College of Music, and I used to work in the library, and I'd get that book out and I'd read it. And at first, it was one of those things where I was just zeroing in on the people that I knew and that I was a big fan of. Me being a trumpet player, they had people like Freddie Hubbard and Miles Davis, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to go read those. And then it'll be sometimes years before I read anybody else's interview. But I would read. I read these interviews, and I would revisit the book. Every couple of yeyears. And that
Art Taylor.
Art Taylor, yeah, and it would grow on me more because it moved in kind of parallel to the experiences that I was having, as the older I got. I mean, remember, I'm 17
really?
years old. Well, yeah, because sometimes at 17 you can't really grasp a lot of the subject matter, and the things that were talked about in that way until it hits you. Sometimes at 21 is gonna feel different. At 25 it's gonna feel different. At 30 it's gonna feel different. At 35 I'll be 46 years old this year. Now I'm, the same age as, a lot of these iconic figures
Yeah, it's
that were
just funny
interviewed
that you're going.
that were interviewed at that time. So I mean, he interviewed Miles Davis in, maybe 1967. So Miles at that point was 41 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just and but in reading that, I started to think that somebody should do something like that for this generation. And I kept saying that somebody should do this, somebody should do this. And then after a while, I figured, well, I guess I should do it. And in 2018, that's when I started to embark upon doing that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've just started it. I'm like maybe a third through the first book, and I am so glad. I've learned so much already.
Mhm.
It's a definitely um, glad you did it. Okay, so first question: what is a griot?
A griot. So first of all, I had to figure out what am I going to call this book. These interviews, and I Buster Williams is a great bass player, legendary in his own. He definitely legendary. He had a handle has a handle rather on Instagram, griot something. And I, like a lot of people that have never seen the word, would say it's griot. So I was like, griot, okay, what's that? When I looked it up, I found that first of all it's griot, and I found that a griot is a African troubadour in a sense. It's a traveling storyteller whose primary focus is on passing down stories from past generations to subsequent generations, and that can be done through a lot of different mediums, whether it be comedy, whether it be music, whether it be acting. But the focus is to pass down the information in West African culture, and so that's what a griot is.
Um, yeah. So, what do you want Black readers to take away from the book?
One of the interviews that hasn't come out yet um, was so very poignantly, said to me by a great drummer named Lenny White, where he was like, being black, regardless of whether you're a jazz musician or not, but just being black is not a monolithic experience. And I think we could all agree with that. And that's something that always just stuck in my head. So when I'm asked that question, what do I want Black people to take? I just want Black folks to relate to the experiences that are talked about. It's not. It's geared towards a musician, but it doesn't necessarily have to just be about the state of being a musician. And if you're not a musician, then you shouldn't read it. That's not what it is at all. It's understanding the perspective and where we're coming from, the people that are making this music, which you guys love to listen to. And so that's, I really just want a sense of being able to draw a parallel kind of line between uh, your life and our lives.
Oh, okay. Okay, so like I said, I read the like first four or five interviews, and I noticed a pattern when you were speaking to the older jazz artists. The word jazz is
Hmm.
problematic. I did not know that. Can you tell us why?
Well, because and this is something that's somewhat of a recurring topic
I
in the
never heard
community.
that.
Yeah, in the community,
Mm.
because jazz comes from a rather reputed and dubious kind of background. It was never something that was. It didn't start with the same kind of respect that it's afforded now. I mean, back then, jazz was kind of code word in the whorehouses for hurry up and get your customer out of the room so we can get the next person. Come on, jazz it up. So it was
That's great.
really a slang word, and then it became um, something that stuck. And the reason why it's a hot button topic and it's something that's recurring is because we did not we when I say we, the black creators of this music did not choose to call it jazz. Jazz was something that was placed on it by the heads of the record industry, which were all white people.
Wow.
So they said, all right, well, yeah, we're just going to call it jazz. And so we didn't have a choice in the matter. And so it's this kind of negative word that has haunted uh, a lot of practitioners of the music for some 100 years. But one of the people that I interviewed, Justin Robinson, had a good take on it, which was that words like symbols change over time, and so it, it's an interesting type of thing to really deal with because you're not necessarily. Some people really have a very bad reaction to the word, and it's not necessarily for that root reason too, because then you also have the fact that jazz in itself is something that could be mixed with so many other things, and so therefore you have all these subgenres of the music that kind of make it very confusing for the listener, and so therefore
Smooth
people,
jazz.
yeah, but people don't like to, if they play a certain type of music, certain type of jazz, they don't like to be associated with it just for placement. But I mean, I think that, and when I say placement, you had to think. I was just with my kids earlier today, walking down 65th and Broadway, and there used to be a big Tower Records right there on the corner, and that was iconic. And of course, it's not there anymore because I mean, where are you going to find CD shops, right? And but when I say placement, you have to think about the fact that if you were a quote unquote jazz musician that decided to veer outside of what you normally do and do something that is, let's say, R&B or hip hop or whatnot, they're still going to say, all right, well, this CD goes in jazz. And so a lot of people didn't like that. I remember talking to Roy Hargrove about that when he had RH Factor that came out, and I was on the phone like, "Yeah, man, I saw your CD," and he said, "Oh, what section was it in?" Because I mean, there's that thought process too about the word. But I mean, it's like I said, it's always been a recurring type of thing, that issue that comes up every generation.
Wow. Yeah. That was speaking of things you learned. I like I said, I'm not finished with the book, but I've learned so much. I've been googling like crazy, trying to figure out what this is and what's that is. How much new information did you read? I mean, did you learn writing this book,
A lot.
doing your
That's one of the best things about this project is and I've got over 80 interviews.
wow?
One of the things that is so great and I'm so blessed to be a part of is just really just learning from masters and also my generation and also younger generations and seeing where they're coming from. So I mean, there's a lot that I'm just taking in.
Yeah, this is a great project. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I and I bought the book and it's like, okay, I'm gonna read it. But just jumping into it, it's just such a treat. How did you choose the artist that you interviewed?
So the interesting thing is, let me explain to you how I first envisioned the project. My whole thing was, aside from the fact that I thought that somebody should write something for this generation, it was at first I had this vision that I wanted to get, in particular, old black performers who did not have the same kind of ink and press that their contemporaries had. and not to say anything bad about their contemporaries, because I mean they've all paid dues, but it's just the way of the business that not everybody's going to be at the top. And so I wanted to make sure that their stories were documented in a real way, and just I wanted it to be about them. And so my whole thought process was, I'm just gonna go for, all the black cats that are living, so, octogenarians, all those people, I wanted to get them. And then one of the things that kind of made me pivot was uh, when I was on the road with the iconic, he just celebrated his birthday, as a matter of fact, he's 79 years old now, a great pianist named Kenny Barron. We were out in Boston for 2 days. And I started the project in the fall, towards the end of the summer of 2018. And by the fall of 2018, I was out with Kenny Barron, and I was in the hotel, we're in the same hotel. And I'm like, you know what? I would kick myself if I didn't interview him. And the reason why I had considered it at first is because I was very particular about wanting to get black cats that were not as visible. And Kenny Barron is highly visible now. And so that wasn't where my head was at. But then it made me think, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm here with Kenny Barron. Why am I not going to interview this man?
Yeah, because I saw you had Winter Marsalis. So I know it was a lot talking about.
But as soon as I did that, then it was like, I said, well, you know what? Then I'm going to get Jonathan Blake too. Now, Jonathan Blake, we're the same exact age, and he plays drums. He's in the volume 2, and so is Kenny Barron. And I was just like, okay, so not only am I going to get, the people that don't have the biggest names, I'm going to get everybody, my generation too, and I'm going to start to get younger generations.
You get an interview. You get an interview.
So I just went ahead. I just said I'm going to get everybody.
That's cool. It's nice to see the similarities in the stories too.
Yeah.
So we have a question from the audience. Oh, sorry, what you gonna say? Oh, okay. Yeah. Even though from Eric Brewington, even though many of these people are probably artists you've worked with before, were you nervous about interviewing any of them?
How you doing, Eric? I known Eric for a long time.
Okay.
Not particularly. I think one of the things about a project like this is that in order for it to really, go off well, you have to have that kind of trust. And so I did, because I had the rapport with most of the people that I interviewed. And the reason why I say most at this point is because, and Eric knows, because I posted it, I couldn't hold and contain myself, but I just interviewed Wayne Shorter. Now, Wayne Shorter is probably the only one out of everybody that I don't know well, and is not very well. He's not very familiar with me, but on the strength of what I sent him, and his wife was very, very sweet and relaying the message and making it happen. But I don't get nervous, anymore. I mean, and I'm just talking about in general in terms of playing or whatnot, because at this point, you just have to kind of be like, I am who I am. And these questions, which you have seen in the book, are basically the same. And I don't feel nervous about it, because really what I'm asking is not necessarily something that is about me trying to prove how much I know about their careers, as much as it's about me wanting to know your story.
And I have a question. Oh, okay. Please continue.
Oh, yeah, and so therefore, I always felt very comfortable with that and asking about your story their story, because I knew that they would tell me what I wanted to know. And so I didn't feel, I was calm. Maybe I should have been nervous.
Do you feel that because you're a musician, being a musician, you have to spend a lot of time practicing? and building confidence. And it's not something that happens overnight. You don't pick up a piece of sheet music and oh, I can just play this when you're first picking up your trumpet. It takes some time. Do you feel that because of the diligence in practicing for being a musician, do you think that that has a lot to do with your confidence and not being nervous when you're interviewing these people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's really about, once you establish yourself as somebody that's, I dare say, is a force in the industry, and I will say that about myself. I don't care.
2 weeks at number one.
Well, I mean, that's one thing, but I mean, longevity and being on the scene for 25 years and playing with
17 albums,
the masters of this music, it creates that sense. And it's not about me going in and being arrogant, like, well, I'm, no, it's not that. It's just it gives you that kind of confidence that you're not going to have at 25 years old, and I mean, because I think at 25 years old is more or less hubris, right? But at 40, when with all the things that you've amassed and that kind of history and rapport with the musicians that you played with, it kind of gives. Even though I'm still approaching, especially with my elders, the situation with the due respect that it needs to have. There's something about just being just completely rooted in who I am and being able to just go ahead and talk to them, musician to musician.
I think that kind of leads into the next question. How do you think you're being a musician doing these interviews compared to interviews that are by like a music journalist who hasn't played?
Well, again, it's about the trust. I mean, if somebody identifies you as somebody that's been through the same experiences of practicing and getting the door shut in your face and and falling, trying to go for something and failing miserably and having people maybe laugh at you or talk stuff behind you and all that builds that kind of armor, and that build and when you recognize that in somebody else, then there's already that kind of trust that does. Huh?
I was thinking that because from the interviews, it seems like the people, I mean, you have like your question and then there's like a page of the answers. Like they obviously felt comfortable with you. And I wonder if, because it seems like journalists do the hard hitting questions and you just like, tell me like you were pulling it out of like, not even hard, just like,
because a lot of these cats wanted to talk. And I think a lot of it, truth be told, when I first started doing this, I was going to their houses and sitting in the living rooms and doing this. And then COVID, so you couldn't go anywhere and nobody wanted you in their house. So you're on Zoom, and because you couldn't go anywhere and do the things that we as musicians have been doing for years and years, traveling all over the world, you really felt isolated. So a lot of people really wanted to talk. They wanted that outlet. Went and wanted to talk. I mean, and Witten's a professional, in every sense of the word, but he's also a professional question answerer. I mean, so he's arguably out of everybody that interviewed, he's probably been interviewed the most. But I mean, I do believe that there are things that he said in his interview that were not captured in a lot of other people's interviews over the course of his almost 40-year career. But again, it's because people wanted to talk, because it was just like you just needed that outlet. You wanted that contact, even if you couldn't reach out, touch somebody, just to be able to talk to somebody was a big thing, as we all know.
That's cool. So you have an album that goes with the books. I think I didn't realize that at first. And they have clips from the interviews. And tell us about that. How did you pick the music? Like, were you writing the music in your head when you were talking to them, or after you listened to the interviews?
Like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What it was I knew this is at the point where the studios were starting to open up cautiously, and my label was still very much, like, okay, we'll go ahead and do this record, a record. You renew your option basically to do a record, and I had it in my mind that I was going to take some of these. I had all the, because I record all the interviews, right? I wanted to write music to some of these sound bites. And so that's what I essentially did. And in as much, I I was already going to be, it was already in my head to release a book, not in the time frame that I released it in, but all really what I'm saying is I had these interviews, and I was just, it was just really just going to be, okay, the Griot project as a record, and that's what it was going to come out. And so we did that in September of 2020, knowing that it was going to come out in 2021. But then what happened was I was playing a gig at the end of December of 2020, and one of the managers at this club that I was playing at, which was, it was a streaming gig, so there was nobody in the club, and I closed the club down. I was drinking with my man, and he's a musician, but he also released a book himself, and so he was explaining to me about self-publishing, and I was like, well, yeah, tell me about it. And he said, well, I mean, this is all you have to do. And he told me the place where he got the books printed and everything. I said, well, I can do that. And so with that said, I had all these interviews, so I just really just went fast. I went in hard. So beginning of January happened. I said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And February that year, I said, all right, it's coming out.
That reminds me about
come out, and so I said, well, great, it's a great companion piece.
That reminds me about a question I actually missed. You mentioned in your introduction about controlling our own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we miss when others publish our stories?
A whole lot. It's the lens, man. It's essentially a filter, because it's going from somebody else's mouth, and it's something that I feel like a lot of times interviews, and in this particular context, white interviews will kind of miss the mark on when telling a story, because then on top of what it is that they have been told by these musicians, sometimes they tend to theorize what the musician might have been thinking at that point, on top of what they've actually been told. You know what I mean? And so my whole thing was, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier. You said, you saw these big pages of responses. I was just like, and one of the things, the I guess criticisms that I've had on myself about it is that the book is not perhaps the best edited book at first, due to the haste of putting it out. And I learned, along the way, so now the second edition, second volume is better. But, I really wanted to put out exactly what the cats say. You know what I'm saying? So there wasn't me involved in it, except for the question. And so that was very important. That their essence be captured.
Okay, cool. So we're going to wrap it up, but because this is Black Readers Con, we got to ask you: you reading anything right now?
I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of The Godfather, and and so I just finished reading this book called "Take the Gun, Leave the Cannoli," which was basically a book about the making of The Godfather and how that came about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that was a fun read. Yeah. And so that's what was going on. On deck is some Gil Scott Heron reading that I'm going to be doing.
Biographies?
not the biography, not the biography. I think it's a book that he put out just called Nigger.
Oh.
And so I'm going to start reading that one very soon. But I just wanted to get this one out because I was always, a big, my man said that Godfather is the best film. I mean, I've watched it several times. Me and my whole family watch it several times.
Oh my goodness, not the babies.
No, not my kids. I'm talking about
Okay.
me, my mother, and my sister will watch it
Okay.
all the time and like just analyze it to pieces.
Okay, yeah, I'm a wimp. I
Someone
can't do
got
it.
worried there.
Well, look, I'm a wimp. I can't do it. So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite genre to read?
I really do love biographies, and also autobiographies. I really do.
Okay, and what is a book or a few books that you think everybody needs to read?
That's a hard question to answer because
Or one
you know
book, or
I'm
not
not.
one book, like the first thing that comes to mind that you really liked or something. I didn't know that you worked in the library in college, so you
I
got a
worked in
lot
a
of.
music library in college, so it wasn't like
Okay, okay.
sitting over there reading Chaucer. But I mean, it definitely varies. I think Miles Davis autobiography is up there. Notes and Tones, I always feel like it's a good read. Obviously these are very music specific. Um, Atlas Shrugged was an interestingly good one that I fought to get through.
What is it
um,
called?
Atlas Shrugged
Okay.
by Ayn Rand or Ayn Rand.
It's probably
So
Professor or something.
there's a few of them. Black Boy,
Okay.
uh, yeah. So those books are things that I've read in the past that I feel like really stand the test of time.
Cool. Well, I know you gotta go, but thank you for teaching us about your new hat as a griot.
Thank you.
And indie author. We love the indie authors over here.
Thank you.
We love all the authors because we're readers, but
Yeah.
definitely go to Jeremy's website at jeremypelt.net and buy Griot Volume 1 and Volume 2. And the album Griot, This Is
You
Important.
can also buy it off the website too.
Yeah, it's on the website and on other places where you can buy music, right?
Yeah, the album you can buy on Amazon and different places like that.
But the book is at the website.
You can only get it at the website. Yes.
And it's definitely, I can't wait to pick it up again. I'm like in the car reading all the different stories. I like the history and stuff. It's just, it's kind of like sitting at the table with your grandma and she's telling you all the things that they used to do,
Absolutely.
While she's, cooking or something. It's definitely take time to pick it up.
Cool.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Next time, bring your trumpet.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Cool. So, thank you guys. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to put an interview from She Reads Soul that we did pre-recorded and have a bookstagrammer talk about the soul music that she likes to listen to.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. All right. Let's cue it up. Wait just a second, guys.
Hey, everybody who's here. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. We're just queuing up the video, She Feels Soul. We did a pre-recorded video with her on yesterday because she was not able to attend the live event. So if you give us just a moment, we'll get her video going. Everybody can drop down and let us know in the chat what you're reading right now. While we are trying to obtain the video file. Give us just a moment. I'm having some technical difficulties, Summer.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay. Raymond says he's reading George Henry White by Ben Justison. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hi, everybody. This is Kate.
Oh, sorry. There's the video.
Here's our video, everyone. Thank you for being patient with us. Hi, everybody. This is Kay the Reader, and today, on behalf of Black Readers Con, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Yvonne, and she has a beautiful Instagram page, she.feels.soul. Yvonne, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So glad to finally speak with you about your love of music and your love of books for Black Readers Con and for Black Music Month. June, everybody, is Black Music Month. And when I tell you this is the perfect person to talk to about music,
thank you.
You have to check out her Instagram page. Please make sure you do that. So, Yvonne, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 48 years old and I love music. I love books, and I like to combine both of those things on my Instagram page. It really represents who I am.
Yes, it is a beautiful, like I said, y'all, it's a beautiful page. You absolutely must check it out. Not only will you see some good books, but you will hear some really good music. So let me ask you this. Because you love books, do you consider yourself a bookstagrammer? Are you a book lover who loves music, a music lover who loves books? How would you define yourself?
I think all of the above. I normally, when I do my posts, it's probably always, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about Bookstagram, I'm thinking about my vinyl community. So I'm always trying to relate my love for both of those.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
all of the above.
So let's talk about the music first. So who instilled that love of music in you?
My parents.
Your
Definitely
parents?
my parents. Both my mother and my father were vinyl collectors, and I grew up watching them collect the vinyl. I used to go with my father to the record shop, and I knew that once I got older on my own, I would probably be doing the same thing.
Okay.
And I come from a musical family. A lot of people in my family sing, and they all love music. So that's probably how I got introduced to it.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I had a question on that, but we'll talk about it now. Are you musically inclined?
I think I am. I grew up singing in the church. I was in a children's gospel group. I sung in the choir, and we traveled a lot. So yeah, I think I do pretty good.
Well, I'll just say this. You were singing Anita Baker on your page. And I was like, oh, girl, listen to it. Beautiful.
I remember that. I was in the vibe then.
Do you play any instruments?
No, I don't. I tried to play piano by ear, but it didn't stick. No.
Okay. So I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you prefer vinyl or digital music?
Vinyl for sure.
Yes.
100%.
You know what I love, especially coming to your page when you're playing music, that familiar crackle of the needle on the vinyl.
I love it. Absolutely. It's so soothing. I absolutely love that sound. It's no other sound like the sound of vinyl. It isn't.
You're right about that. So do you have any inkling of how many albums you actually have?
Oh man. Wow. I would say over 2,000. Yeah, over 2,000 in different parts of my house. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They're all over my house.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I love the way you display your album covers on your page. Just
Thank you
so
so
nice.
much. Thank
So
you.
nice. So if you could, and I know this is going to be hard, and I'm sorry, but it's a good question. If you could pick just off the top of your head, 3 groups,
Okay.
3 bands
Okay.
that everybody needs to go back and listen to their discography,
Oh,
which 3 bands would you pick?
I would pick the OJs. I would
Mm,
pick Mays and Frankie Beverly and the Ohio Players.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Nice
have
choices.
yes, I have a huge collection of all 3 of those. All 3 of those bands. I'm trying to get every copy I can of all 3 of those bands' vinyls.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Now, speaking of collections, I know you were working on trying Patti LaBelle collection. How's that going?
It's going good. When I go digging, it's kind of hard to find her albums, which makes it funner for me because I like trying to find it, and if I don't find it, it makes me want to go more and dig more.
It's almost like
So
a scavenger hunt, right?
yes, and the thrill of the hunt, it's a
Yes.
beautiful feeling, especially when you finally get the album you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Oh,
still doing it, still trying to find her stuff. It's fun. I'm having a good time looking for it.
okay, so let's talk about moods because you know music. When you're in different moods, you listen to different music. So
Mhm.
you wake up in the morning, sun is shining bright outside. It's going to
Mhm.
be 85 degrees outside that day.
Mhm.
You have nowhere to go. You can relax and take your time. Who are you putting on that day?
I'm gonna put on Anita Baker and then probably
Mm.
Sade.
Oh, nice.
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Bad mood, raining outside, rough
Mhm.
day,
Mhm.
headache.
Mm.
Who are you putting on?
Maybe Erica Badu.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. She brings me this vibe that takes me completely out of whatever I'm feeling that's probably sad or bad.
mhm.
She uplifts me.
Okay.
Definitely.
She brings you out of that funk.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a
Erica
good one.
Badu.
Okay, so not a good day, bad mood, kind of
Mhm.
sad,
Mhm.
melancholy.
Mhm.
I just want to lay down. I might even cry.
Oh yeah.
Who you listening to?
Miles Davis.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm gonna put on some jazz.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a huge jazz collection.
Mm-hmm.
And jazz always kind of puts me in that feeling where everything's gonna be okay. The
Um,
sound, the melody, all of that. Definitely
so
Miles Davis.
besides Miles, who are some of your favorites?
Jazz,
Hmm.
I would say Ramsey Lewis, Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk,
Mm-hmm.
and I can keep going. I love jazz. Yeah,
Okay.
I love jazz.
Okay. Here's the last one
Okay.
in this category. So, nice summer day, top down on a convertible. I don't even know what kind of car you drive, but top down on the convertible, hair blowing in the wind, headed out on the highway for a long drive. What are you playing?
Luther Vandross.
Oh, nice.
Luther Vandross. Because it reminds me of my childhood. And we
Mm-hmm.
used to do a lot of traveling. My mother was a softball player, and we had to go to different parts of the state of Tennessee. We went to different parts in Tennessee for her to play softball. And she
Okay.
always played Luther Vandross.
Oh,
So, yeah,
nice.
definitely.
Every blue moon, I have to play Never Too Much.
Oh,
It's like one of my favorite
yes.
Luther songs.
Oh, it's
It
such
just
a good
puts me
song.
in such a mood. I don't even know. It's like,
Absolutely. And if you're not moving to that, something's wrong with you.
right.
You definitely move to that as soon as you hear it. Yeah.
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 Everybody always talks about his ballads, and I love his ballads, but Never Too Much is just
Oh, it's a jam. Always will
yes.
be. Yes.
Okay, so true or false?
Mm-hmm.
If I come to your house, there's music playing,
Mm-hmm.
there might be some incense burning,
Absolutely.
there's some good food
Mm-hmm.
waiting on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes. Yes,
I
indeed.
I picture your home not as a quiet home, but a peaceful one.
It is.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's exactly, it represents me for sure. Yeah.
And I just feel like anybody coming over would be so welcoming. And here's the thing, I know how I feel about books.
Mm-hmm.
You must feel about your albums.
Mm-hmm.
When people come over and their little hands go like this towards your shelves
Yes.
where your albums are, what do you do?
I'm like, okay, what do you want me to play? I'll get it for you.
Because I know it has to be tempting.
Yes, it does. It does. But really, I would be okay with them going towards my albums and picking them up. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
How are your albums organized?
I normally go by groups, female, male, genre like reggae, jazz. It's always, everything is organized that way.
Okay.
I don't like it kind of scattered. It has to be in the same group. Like the OJs would be with the OJs, and then after the OJs, it would be Ohio Players.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
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 That makes sense.
Yes.
And I guarantee you know where everything is.
Absolutely.
I don't care how big that collection is. If you want to hear,
That's right.
I'll make up somebody. If you want to listen to Lionel Richie, you know
Yes.
exactly where to go to pull him off the shelf.
Absolutely.
Jeffrey Osborne.
Oh my goodness. And you're naming all the people that I have. I have all of their music.
And you're like, okay, I'm in that mood. Boop, right off the shelf.
Absolutely. It's such a satisfying feeling too, to be able to come into my living room and see my albums waiting for me to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I bet. So what are, you have so many. I know this is a hard question. Again, some of your favorite album covers.
Oh, wow. I love Miles Davis' album cover of Bitches Brew. I love that one. I love Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do I love? I love Mos Def's album. I think it's Black on Both Sides. I love that one. That's pretty much to name a few, but I can keep going. I love Bob Marley's Exodus.
Okay.
Love that one. Yeah, I can keep going. I have a bunch of them that I like.
I'm thinking the album covers of the 70s were just
yes,
beautiful.
Absolutely. Parliament. I love all of their album covers. Ohio Players got some good ones too. Yeah, a lot of beautiful Black art. Yeah, represents us.
Yes. It's almost a shame that I know that they still I know that there's still music on vinyl today, but I just feel like, man, I wish we all still had that vinyl. My son bought a record player, and I was so surprised that he did. And he bought a few albums and everything. And I was like, wow,
that's great.
Yeah,
I think that we're going back to that. I think it's becoming very popular, and I'm glad it is.
Yeah. And like you said, there's no greater sound.
It's not. And I think we need that right now. Music is medicine for the soul.
Yeah, even if you have to put that penny on top.
Absolutely. I remember my parents doing that. Yes, I remember that.
So, now I'm going to segue to books. I know that you were talking about Miles Davis, and I know you have a book about him.
I do.
And so what are when you're looking for books, do you seek out books about musicians specifically?
I do. My book collection is really just about the Black experience.
Yeah.
And so when I'm out looking for books, I'm always also thinking about Black musicians, because I like to read, and I like to read about the musicians that I love. So it definitely goes hand in hand. I have a lot of books about Black artists, musicians.
Okay. What are some of the favorite genres you like to read?
Oh, wow. Well, of course, it's dealing with the Black experience. I love fiction. I love Black fiction. I love Black science fiction. Um, I love Black biographies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I figured that for all the
and
musicians.
absolutely. And I like mystery. I like Walter Mosley. I
Mm-hmm.
love him. So yeah.
Who had some really good biographies? Which artists, which singers?
Oh, I would say I like Miles Davis's book, and I also like Bob Marley's book.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also have a book about can't think of her name right now. She was
Was
in the
it Mary?
Supremes. She was in the
Oh,
Supremes.
Mary.
Mary, yeah, Mary Wilson.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
drew a blank. I
Yeah,
couldn't
how
think
did
of
I forget her name? But yeah. And I read
it.
Tina Turner's book.
Okay.
That was a real good book. Actually, if I had to choose a book, that would be the one I really liked. Tina
Oh,
Turner's book was really good.
so do you know about how many books you have?
Oh, it's probably about the same amount of albums.
Wow.
It's
That's
in the
great.
thousands because I've been collecting for
Mhm.
such a long time. Yeah, it's in
So
the thousands.
2020, when everything was shut down,
Hmm.
you were absolutely not bored.
No, I wasn't.
You
That's
had
true.
music, you had books. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
a great thing. And you're a solitary kind of person.
yes, I am.
And so, I love that because you love your own company
Yes,
and you can entertain yourself.
absolutely.
And
Yes,
so, I mean, just think day by day, you have thousands of albums
yeah.
to choose
To
from.
keep me company. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
how
That's true.
wonderful. I bet
I
in the
know.
wintertime you're just under a throw blanket with
Absolutely.
music playing and a book. Man, listen.
It's nothing like it. It's nothing like it. It's always I'm always able to escape.
Hmm.
And when I escape, I'm escaping to something that's pleasurable, that's fun for me, that gives me happiness. So that's probably why I like being by myself, being in my own skin, because I have everything around me that I love.
Mm,
Yeah. So
nice, nice.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. When you're reading books,
Hmm.
are you creating soundtracks in your mind to the books that you're reading?
I am. I am. Yeah, I think I do that sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, I can read and listen to music at the same time. A lot of readers probably not all of them can do that. But I
Mhm.
can read and also hear music in the background. I do it all
Oh,
the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I could do that too. Music, TV, kids
Uh-huh.
screaming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could
Yeah.
just see that about you. Like you're reading a book and a
Yeah.
certain thing comes on, your
Hmm.
mind goes straight to,
Yeah.
that's Atlantic Star right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
This,
really get me. You get
yeah,
me.
like this is James Ingram. This is a James Ingram thing
Right.
right here.
Right. Right. You definitely get me. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what's your favorite book right now?
My favorite book right now. I'm actually reading another country by James Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been reading that book off and on for years.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I pick it up, I'm so engrossed in it. So I have a love affair with that book, actually.
Okay, I haven't
Yeah.
read that one yet, so
You would love
add
it.
it to my list.
You would love it. The characters stay with you. It's
Mm-hmm.
relatable. And it gives you almost like, I know these people. I can't explain it, but it's, you know how you read a book and you're like, I know these people. I can relate
Yeah,
to them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
reading right now. Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite song or album right now?
Oh, wow.
I know
Hmm.
that's hard for you.
That is very hard. Favorite album right now. Oh, you got me right there. Give me a minute to think about that. I want to say Jill Scott,
Hmm.
but it's an old album, but I still vibe with it. I want to
Oh
say Jill
yeah,
Scott. Yeah.
I love me some Jill.
Yeah.
Certainly do.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you want to share with us about yourself, about music, about books?
That I'm just a lot. My username, She Feels Soul, definitely speaks about who I am. I'm a
Mhm.
very soulful person, and so my collection of books, my collection of vinyl represents that to the fullest. I'm a very soulful, very passionate person, and that's how I go about reading. That's how I go about listening to music. So yeah, my username definitely sums me up for sure.
And I do feel like I know you.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
going through your page, I had all of these thoughts in my mind. Like I said about the house, I said,
Yeah,
"Look, I pulled up at Yvonne's house. There's going to be some music playing. The incense going to be burning over there. She might have a
absolutely.
candle over here.
Yes,
Something's going to be coming
it's a
from that
vibe.
kitchen that's going to be smelling so good."
Yes, yes, it's
Yeah.
a vibe. Always.
Mhm.
Thank
I
you so
had
much
that
for having
feeling.
me and thinking
Thank
about
you
me.
so much. Thank you so much for joining. I really
I appreciate
appreciate it.
you.
So, on behalf of not just myself, but Black Readers Con, we're so glad to have you as a guest. Everyone, please follow
Thank you.
Yvonne, she.feels.soul
Thank
on
you.
Instagram. You
Thank
will
you.
be enamored with her page.
Thank you so much. Peace to everybody. Bye.
That was great, great, great questions. And boy,
She
a thousand books and 2,000 albums.
She is so sweet, so much fun, and I do feel just going to her page, and I can't even remember how long we've been following each other. It's funny, she mentioned a website from years ago. She said, we've been following each other for years because I remember you from another website years ago, and it sounded vaguely familiar to me, but I felt so very connected to her. It was so easy to talk to her. And I do love her page. So everybody, please check it out. Like DL says here in her comment, her Instagram is so nice, looks peaceful, great mix of music and books. Yes. Yes. So if you ever want to escape from Bookstagram for a little while, when you're scrolling through, go to her page. Even though she does read a lot of books, she shares so much good music on her page. And when she plays that vinyl, oh, it just sounds so good. So good.
That's cool.
So I do have a list on my page. I asked the question of Bookstagram to name some of their favorite books related to music since June is Black Music Month. And these are some of the responses that I got. Kill 'em and Leave, Searching for James Brown and the Amen. Excuse me, I can't read my own writing. Searching for James Brown and the American Soul by James McBride. That was submitted by Raymond Williams. Shoes for All Five um, submitted Shine Bright by Danielle Smith. Equal Music by Vikram Seth. That was submitted by Brown Girl Reading. Didn't We Almost Have It All in Defense of Whitney Houston? And I didn't write down who submitted that one. Sorry. The Girl with the Stars in Her Eyes by Zao Axelrod.
Yeah, I read that one.
And I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember who submitted that one. I didn't write that one down either. I know who it is, but I can't remember his Instagram name. It's my buddy. It's author Mark Allen Gunnels.
Okay.
They can't kill us until they can't kill us until they kill us. Shantae One submitted that one. Promise That You Will Sing About Me: The Power and Poetry of Kendrick Lamar, submitted by Paper Street Books. Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out, submitted by Abby.qtg. And then some other books I made note of here. The Meaning of Mariah Carey. That one came out not too long ago. I think that's Raymond's favorite singer. Janet Jackson, True You, A Journey to Finding and Loving Yourself. Tupac, The Rose That Grew from Concrete, his poetry collection. And then, of course, Will by Will Smith. Did you
That one really, you know how I feel about books that everybody loves. I don't trust it. And I don't even know why I picked up. Oh, you know what? I think I put it on hold at the library. It was like a 16-week hold or something, and it came up, and I was like, okay, I'll listen to it. It was so good, especially chapter 5. If you were a fan of hip hop in the late 80s,
yes,
if you listen to nothing else on that book but chapter 5, it will just take you back to a special place.
Yeah. I mean, yes, because those were, I guess you would say, my formative years. That's when I was in high school, when all of this music was rolling out, right? Middle school and high school. So listening to that book was like listening to the soundtrack of my life. Took me way back to those.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. He really just recreated that time in the words. It was awesome. It makes me want to try like Mariah Carey's book, because I know a lot of people have said that was good.
I might have to try that. I would like to try the audiobook. I would like to hear it, because I actually read Will's book, and then after I finished it, I went back and got the audiobook from the library.
Yeah. I can't see the reading it having the same experience reading it, but I mean it could. But
yeah, it doesn't have the same experience. I mean, you can read it in your mind, and you can hear Will's voice in your mind reading the book, but it's nothing like actually hearing him read the book. So yeah. But thank you all so much for joining us tonight on Black Readers Con. We had 2 really great guests. Don't forget to check out www.jeremypelt.net so you can purchase his book, Griot. And he has his album also.
Griot, This Is Important. And that's on his website and also on Amazon and other places where you buy music.
And if you're not already following Yvonne, follow her, she.feels.soul on IG. Follow Black Readers Con across all social media so that you don't miss great live events such as this one, and so that you can be kept up to date on information for our conference, which will take place October 28th through the 30th in New York and virtually. Again, thank you all for joining us this evening, and we can't wait to see you again for our next live event. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.